Okay, let's start. I'll start slow, and then we can see from there. Let me start by introducing myself just very quickly. My name is Walter Volpers, and I am responsible for product management here at IWC Schaffhausen. And this means that what we do is we bring the dream to the wrist. Okay, so when everybody or someone in the company dreams about a watch, they come to me with a sketch or something similar, and they say, bring it to the wrist. So it's a tough job, but it's also very, very fun. And I am a watch passionista or lover. So for me, it's like being a kid in a candy store because I get to see the prototypes before anyone else, even before our CEO. So it's a lot of fun.
You're lucky.
Yes, definitely. I'm very lucky. But this is, as I said, what gives me the gray hair and the dark eyes. You know, this is because it's not an easy job, definitely. Today, I'm really happy to be able to present to you some of the watches that we're bringing this year. There are prototypes, so they are functional, but I'll try to give you the best indication and explanation about the watches. I also like to make this presentation very dynamically. So if you have any questions, please put your mic on, ask the question, make yourself somehow visible. I can see you, so if you just wave quickly, I can stop quickly and then ask the question. I'll try to answer everything you have. This will be the first part, will be the novelties of this year, the big pilot, as you see in the background. And then we'll have at the end 20-25 minutes. I have some Portuguese here, so I can show you also some Portuguese timepieces. If you have any questions, you want something special to put me on the table, I can put it there. I'll try to answer the question. I also have the Group Product Manager Classic Watches with me, so if there are any questions on Portuguese, we can probably answer them today. Okay?
Great, sure. Sounds great.
Perfect. So let's start. Before we go to the products, exactly, just a very small introduction where the inspiration came for this pilot's watch line. 1936, the first pilot watch we introduced. Back then, the owner and CEO, Mr. Homburger, had two sons that were pilots in the military, but also civilian pilots. And they asked their father to introduce a new watch for the pilot watches for navigation. And this is the first watch, the one you see with the 1936 below. And this watch was already useful or it was a tool watch because you see on top of the tender is a small triangle, and you can move that triangle to put it in front of the hand hour, of the minute hand, and there you could start your navigation. Okay, so you turn, for example, right now at minute 9 or 8.5, and then you start your navigation, you fly in that direction, and when the time elapsed, you could then mark it again and move it again. So it was already a very technical tool used for navigation only. The second watch you see on the slide to the left of me or to the right probably is the very renowned Mark 11. Okay, this is the first military specification watch that IWC produced. I think the most known is the one from the Royal Air Force that had, you know, this triangle sign on at 12 o'clock for the Royal Air Force, or for the Royal Crown. And the other two watches that inspired us in the pilot's watch, of course, the observation watch that was introduced in 1940 with a diameter of 55 millimeters. This was a really big watch, was used on top of the jacket, so above the jacket, with a very big diamond crown, which was so big because they had to wind it up during flight with the gloves. Remember, back then there was no conditioning in the planes. It was very cold, and they were wearing gloves, so they had to wind it up. It had about 22 hours of power reserve, okay? And the strap was also, I don't know, about 35, 40 millimeters long, because you were, not millimeters, but centimeters, because you had to put it also around the jacket. And this is the main inspiration for the very known references 5002, which was introduced in 2002, the iconic watch that you see there, the big pilot with 46 millimeter, as we know right now. Okay, and this year we're dedicating the launch to the big pilot because we're increasing there a lot of value. We're putting a lot of value to the watches, and for that I would like to show you a small movie. Perfect. So now you see here on the tray, the big pallet, 46 millimeter 5010. Of course, you know this one with the power reserve at 3 o'clock, the date at 6 o'clock. Now the new pallet watch that you saw in the movie will have a diameter of 43 millimeters, and I put it just side by side, so you can compare it. Okay, now you can see very first sight that the dial is very plain, the power reserve is out, and the date is also away, and the diameter is 43 millimeters. Now, another thing that we changed, if you look at the Superluminova, now you see the classical cross lume, okay? We moved that or changed that to a full luminous dial where you can see not only the indices, but also the numbers, okay? So this is making, bringing that very mechanical or tool watch that you want to have into a watch. When you see to the case side and the proportions, this was a reduction in size, but not just a task of reducing this by proportion, you know. It was also looking at the distances that are also giving the very iconic look. For example, the space between the dial and the glass, you can see here with both watches is practically the same. So we just not did reduce the diameter and the size of the big pallet, we also kept the proportions that you get that iconic look of the big pallet 5010. Now, the real value, as I said, comes also to this watch when I turn it around. And when you see from the back, you can see that we've increased we opened the case back, so increasing the value by displaying the beautiful caliber 82000. Here you can see also the ceramic components working with the Peloton winding system, a bidirectional winding system. And we made this watch also more sportier in the sense that we increased the water resistance up to 10 bar, okay? And now what's even cool, because you can imagine, okay, you increase to 10 bar, but if I have a leather strap, how can I go to the water and 100 meters or go diving? Well, for this reason, we introduced a new exchange system. We call it Ease Exchange System, and you can see that in the strap. There's a small button here with an JWC engraving, and this is a pusher that when I push it, I can take away very easily the strap and put, for example, a rubber strap, as you can see here, like so. And in less than 1 minute, you will change your watch from a very classical look with a leather strap to a very sporty look, and even ready for sports. Okay, something which is also really cool about this strap is that you can also exchange the folding clasp. I will take off my glove very quickly because it's easier. I'm not wearing my glasses, so this is why I need to put that with my hand. So when you put it like this, you can dehook the folding clasp. You take this small component here and the pin out like so, and then you will be able to exchange the whole strap very easily, okay?
Very practical.
And trust me.
Very practical.
Definitely, and trust me, if I can do this without my glasses, you can do it blindly. Although I'm an engineer, I am not very good with my hands, so if you see me working here a little bit, sorry for that, but it's really easy. So you just dehook it like that, and that's it, okay? And as I said before, very fast, you're gonna change it and make it very dynamic. Now, this rubber strap will come in 5 colors. So we'll have blue, brown, black, green, and red, okay? So you will be able to change the look of the watch very easily. As you can see also on the presentation, we're gonna introduce a reference with a stainless steel bracelet. Now, if we could go quickly on the full exactly, just to show you a little bit about this bracelet. It's also really interesting because it's ergonomically adapted. So it goes from 21 millimeters on the horns down to 18. It's a 5-link bracelet where the second and the fourth link are polished. And when I open the bracelet, you can see all the good properties of our bracelet. You see some pushers here at the end of the link. When you push that, you can take it out and you can enlarge or reduce the size of the bracelet very easily. I always say this is a good thing because when you gain weight or when you lose weight, you can adapt it very easily. But there's also a bad thing about this. If your family finds out how to exchange it, they will take your watch away and will adapt it. So be careful not to show this to your familiars, okay? I know this by heart. I can tell you a story about that with my wife. Now, another very cool thing of this watch is the folding clasp. You see here, there's a button here. So when I push it, I will be able to extend the bracelet by 5 millimeters very easily and push it back. This is a typical say feature of IWC bracelets. I'm sorry, the camera is not focusing correctly. But this is also very good for, especially for countries that have a very warm climate, that when you go into a climatized room with air conditioning, your wrist will reduce the diameter, and you can adapt it very fast just by click, click, and then you have it, and the Dutch will not dance. Also, when you're in the beach and you jump into the water, your wrist will reduce. You can put it when you're in the water very easily back on your wrist size. Now, what's also very cool about this is that the bracelet is going to have the same quick exchange system. So by pulling a small lever, I will be able to exchange that. So I will be able to exchange all these straps. So we will have 3 different bracelets in leather. So the brown, the blue, and the black. We will have 5 different bracelets on rubber, and you will have the stainless steel. Okay, and these 2 watches, they have the blue color dial, and we will also introduce a black dial to the collection. There we go. Okay, maybe if you allow me to put very quickly the 5010 just to the side of it, so you can see it's going to be the exact same blue as we have on the 5010. So this is also very good because you can have this for your families, you know, brothers, sons, what have you. You can have a very, very beautiful match to this collection. Looking at the lineup here a little bit on the details, you can see the price is going to be in the US dollar for the leather variation, 8,400 US dollar, the steel one with 9,350 US dollar. Okay. Any questions about the Big Pilot 43 millimeters?
Yes, I do have a question.
Yes, please.
Can you hear me?
Yes, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, regarding the blue dial, is it the same as on the petite prints or different shade of blue?
Exactly. These 2 references have exactly the same blue. You can see it maybe here a little bit better. So this is the old 5010 or the actual 5010 and the new one. It's the same blue, and it's the same blue as we have on the Petit Prince, okay? We call it, it's a blue color, we call it Sanger number 5. Excuse me?
Beautiful color.
Ah, thank you. Yes, definitely. We have a secret to this blue color, huh? There's a secret why our blue is more cool than that. Maybe if you get me happy enough, I can tell you what the secret is. Very good. So if you don't have any more questions, I would like to show you also a small movie of
One more question here when it comes to the Big Pilot. I'm more excited about the Big Pilot because I'm a big fan of it myself.
Yes.
The new one, it's amazing. It looks amazing. It's a smart move in my opinion, but it's kind of plain with no complications at all. So shall we expect to see some sort of complication in the future, like date, maybe a power reserve, or I don't know, anything else?
Very, very good question.
And why you decided to keep it plain?
It's a very good question. Of course, once you have a case and you have the movements, you can start iterating the references, definitely. So I think it's open to be able to put a power reserve on the dial or maybe a date. That should be no issue at all. It's just a question of, is it matching on the strategy and can you bring it soon enough, on when is the right point to bring this? And on the other hand, you're asking, why is it so plain? As I tried to explain you at the beginning, what we want to do is to go from a very plain look, three-hand watch to a very complicated, to offer everything. So you will have like something like the Big Pilot, very simple in the sense that it's a 3-hand dial. Then you have the complication, and then there's another watch which I wanted to show you. But I mean, there's a small movie I could play a little bit afterwards. So here you have a watch that we're introducing also next year, the Perpetual Calendar. maybe if we go on full, you can appreciate that these three watches are varying the offering from a simple tool watch to a very complicated watch, okay, which is the Perpetual Calendar. So this is a strategic decision to go with a plain look, because you have the big palette, which has a little bit more complication, like power reserve, 7 days, and of course the date, and then going up to the Perpetual Calendar. And hope this answers your question. And now that we're talking about the Perpetual Calendar, maybe we can play that short movie just very quickly, so you can have a look from close up. Exactly. Now, this watch is joining the iconic design of a big palette with the iconic complication of Kurt Klaus introduced in 1985 with the Perpetual Calendar that can be adapted very easily through the crown. I'm sure that you know, because you're a watch lovers, I'm sure that you know that other companies use pushers on the case to adapt the dates very quickly. Yeah. We don't use that because that is making a hole in the case and making that, you know, in the sense, less water resistant. Every hole that you make in the case makes the watch less good for that. So we have a system, and this is the authenticity of IWC, that is engineered so that very easily you can adapt the date through the crown. And as you saw in the movie, this watch will come with an open case back displaying our beautiful caliber 52000 that has a 7-day power reserve. It will also have these ceramic components, as you see here, the Peloton winding system, bidirectional winding, and you can also see the 2-barrel construction that will give it its 7-day power reserve. And this watch is not going to be limited, and for the first time we're introducing this watch in a stainless steel case without limitation, and it has the Kurt Klaus Perpetual Calendar module, of course, adapted to the caliber 52000. Is it good for you? Is there any questions here? Very good. Then there's another watch that we are going to introduce this year, which I am very proud also to show it to you right now. And for that, another short movie, please.
Sure.
This is our pilot's watch chronograph 41mm. This diameter of case we have already introduced in the Spitfire line, but now it will have a classic look, as you can see here on the tray. Here you see also the very beautiful dial, and of course you can also see on the dial immediately that this is a manufactured movement. It's our caliber 69000. You can see it very easily because the small second is at 6 o'clock. Every time that you see a watch from IWC that has a small second at 9 o'clock, you will know immediately that this is an external movement. So this watch will have an internal movement, and the value perception of the watch comes definitely when you look also at the back. We have opened it to display the caliber, the beautiful caliber. You can see here the column wheel. It also has a bidirectional winding system, and we also have increased the 10-bar water resistant. And as you can immediately see from these straps, they will also have the quick exchange system where I can just by the push of a button exchange the strap here very easily and put it again with the blue rubber strap. Okay, maybe if we zoom out a little bit, exactly, there you can see the watch as I saw it. Again, in 10 seconds or under 10 seconds you can exchange the straps. As I said, I have two left hands, so it's very easy to exchange. Now, there's another very cool thing about this watch, and this is the pin buckle. It's also exchangeable. If we could zoom in exactly. Now, to exchange this one, you just have to pull out the pin here, which I'm holding with my right hand, the one without glove. You see? So I pull it out, and then I can, with my finger or with this tool here, use it as a tool, pull the pin out. You see it comes a little bit out on this side, and then I can just take it off. Sorry. As I said, I'm not wearing my gloves, so it's not easy to see. There we go. And then you pull it out, and then you have this pin. Okay, so you have again the 3 components, and here you can very easily exchange your strap at home. When you purchase them via e-commerce or something like that, you can of course do that by yourself at home on both sides. Now to put building it again, you just push the pin through it. See that the pin pushes through completely, and then you insert this small pin in here, and there you go.
I have a question regarding these
Yes,
systems. I've seen that you've included a lot of easy exchange systems, but have you done anything to make them mistake-proof, like accident-proof? Because I see that this, in practicality, it might come off when you don't want it to come off. Do you have like a system to protect it from that?
There is at the moment, so the concept doesn't have a system, okay? But this system has been tested to 10,000 times. So we put off and on 10,000 times, and it still kept or reached all our requirements in terms of quality. This is actually the most sensitive component and concept that you can think about, because if you put it wrong, the watch will fall, and either it breaks, or if you're swimming, you probably lose it. At sea, you will lose it, and this cannot happen. So we want to have this a 100 proof system, and this is something that we've been developing the last 6 months, and we are testing it thoroughly, and we are sure that we can provide a 100% security to the system. I understand the skepticism, definitely, because it's never easy to trust something like that. But again, maybe if I'm very quiet and you hear the system, how you push it, you see that. I don't know if you hear that. You feel it very, very, it's a very pronounced sound that you will not just put it. You know, we had that with the Aqua Timer. Maybe you remember that sometimes you didn't hear the click, and that was a mistake. And in the whole story of Aqua Timer since 2015, where we introduced this system, we have only had 1 single watch that was lost, and we produced about 100,000 of these watches. So I don't believe that that system, which is not so good as this one, was already very reliable. I think
did you compensate that 1 watch that was lost?
Definitely.
That's good. I have another question. I see usually the perception of IWC, it's the pilot's watch. It's an aviation watch, but I see that you're focusing a lot in the presentation on water resistance and diving and rubber straps. Is there a change in policy with IWC that we will be seeing more focus on dive watches in the near future?
It's a very good question. I wouldn't say it's a strategy change. For us, it's just adapting to the market demands. You know, we see day by day that a lot of people, you know, they are very dynamic. They go from working at home to the pool, to the sea, to the yacht club, to the meeting somewhere in a restaurant without having time to exchange the watch, right? Or without having the time, you know, to adapt the watch. So what we want to do is increase the versatility of the watch, but not definitely in a strategic sense that we go from a classic to a sporty watch. What we want to have is 2 worlds together, in the sense that you have a sporty thing that you can very quickly exchange when you go to a pool party or to the sea or to the yacht club or what have you, and then exchange it to a more classical look in the afternoon when you go, for example, for dinner with friends or something. You can really exchange that very easily. And, you know, taking this with you like so, it's so easy. It's so small. It's very quickly. You can exchange it. It's even better than bringing 2 watches. Of course, you can bring 2 watches, but it's in that sense, it's giving that part. And
a lot of people are going to a 1 watch collection. This will make it much easier for them as well.
Exactly. And then concerning the water resistance, I think this is the new normal. The new normal is water resistant temp bar. Practically every company is introducing this. To be honest, our watches, they are already, we tested 1 watch up to 25 bars. Exactly this construction, 25 bars, but we only want to guarantee 10 bars, which is 2.5 less than what we can achieve on the maximum. And this is just to make the watch more robust. And you know, the water tightness is more to protect the movement from air and dirt than from water. Okay? So this is not a strategy change, it's just adapting to the market.
If you allow me, and since we're talking about, the strategy and how you're adapting to people's demands, is there any vision of having a GMT watch anytime soon?
That is a very direct question. I mean, I could tell you, but then I have to shoot you, as they say in the movies, right? I'm sorry, these are strategic questions, and I would love to answer them.
We will take that as a yes.
Exactly. No comment.
Okay.
So we work.
No answer is a good answer. It's okay.
Exactly.
We do have a time zoner. We do have a time zoner which replaces actually the GMT. I find it a better complication than the GMT. Unfortunately, I don't have a watch here to show you that complication, but have a look, go to the boutique, you know, talk to Natalie. She will show you definitely this beautiful time zoner complication. It's really cool. I find it better than GMT, but I understand the puristic idea of that. Right, Natalie? So we can show them a Petit Prince or a chronograph time zoner. You can have that look. That's an impressive, amazing technology.
We could do that.
There we go.
Thank you.
Now, maybe just to show you very quickly, just the lineup of the chronograph. We will also bring it with a stainless steel bracelet, also exchangeable. It's exchanged. You can pull it out like so. It's a very easy thing. You will hear that too. And we're also bringing something very interesting. It's a green color on the chronograph. It's a very impressive color. It goes from practically black to a very light emerald green. So it's a very nice watch. And the fourth watch that will come together is, of course, the same reference only on a stainless steel bracelet. Sorry for that camera. I need to get the position right. There we go. Okay. Now, you probably also know that we are working with Top Gun. Top Gun is a pilot school, a firefighters school that is based in California, Miramar, or in Fallon, Nevada. And in the last 3 years, we've worked very closely with the pilots. And we came to we saw them when we increased this partnership. We saw that they were training in the desert, and their uniforms were subdued and had a very special color. And for that, we introduced, like 2 years ago, we introduced this chronograph Mojave Desert. It was a limited edition to 500, and this year we're going to bring two very impressive timepieces. You see them already on the screen. If you go ahead and look at the tray, I can show you this watch a little bit more in person. So the color code is going to be the same. So it's going to be a sand color ceramic. You will have your titanium components like the crown and the case back, but we're introducing a new system of a bracelet. Now, this system has been already introduced before. It's a rubber carrier that will have an inlay, okay? So we can change this inlay. And in the Mojave Desert, you had a rubber inlay with a ripstop printing. Here we'll have it with a textile. Now, maybe in the camera it looks a little bit off, the color of the textile to the sand color. This is prototype. We will change that it matched perfectly. Actually, the bracelet came in today. I got a chance to have a look at them. And when you put them on, you will see no difference in the color to the bracelets, okay? This is also a very special watch because it's the first time that we have the caliber 52000 in a ceramic case, okay? Caliber 52000 is the one that has 2 barrels compared to the caliber 51000 that only has 1 barrel. So it's a different complication, but now we have it in here. It's the first time in ceramic. And the wingman of this big palette, of course, the Perpetual Calendar. It's the same Perpetual Calendar I showed you before. So you will have the cool clouds, double moon, 12 o'clock, the same, you know, repetition of the complication. And this one will have also the case back open with a titanium ring, and you will have the ceramic components visible there, the Peloton winding system, and the 7-day power reserve. So if you already have this Mojave Desert, you're one of the luckiest that got one of these Mojave Desert. These are the perfect watches to complete the lineup. So you can have it practically for the whole family, right? If you're a family of 3, you can have that amazingly or very good as a collection or lineup. Now we're also introducing a new distribution system with these 2 watches. This big palette will be only produced 250 times per year, and the Perpetual Calendar will be produced 150 times per year. Okay. Any questions about the ceramic cases here or these watches?
How durable are the ceramic cases?
Well, it's difficult to say what is the exact test to see how durable the ceramic is. Let me tell you something about the ceramic, which goes into this into this movement here, it's the same. It's zirconium oxide. Okay, IWC has always used zirconium oxide. We have used other types of ceramic like silicon nitride, like boron carbide, but we have about 98% of the materials of ceramic that we use is the zirconium oxide. Okay, and this zirconium oxide is the same that you have in the movement. It's the same that we have on the case. And this system, the Peloton system, there are two small hooks here. Maybe if we go on full zoom, you can see them a little bit. You can see on the wheel there are some very small. There you go. You can see them above here. You see the small hook there. These are like some hooks that will go into the wheel and move it when the rotor turns. And we tested these hooks. The material before of these hooks was a hardened steel. And about 5 years later, you had to exchange those hooks because they just wore off. And we stopped the test after 25 years. Okay, so we saw absolutely no wear or tear for these components. And these are components that are, if you wear your watch daily, are continuously working because they are, every time the rotor moves, these hooks will move and engage on the automatic wheel. And after 25 years, there was zero wear. So this is a little bit how you can see about this ceramic. Depends, of course, how you treat your ceramic, but if you let it fall on very hard cases, that will be a problem. Boron carbide being the hardest ceramic. If you hit 2 boron carbide watches like this, then they will chip off definitely, because they are both so hard that it will chip off. But this doesn't happen with these watches. They are really resistant. Okay.
Very nice, very nice. Do you plan to release any other ceramic colors other than the Desert Mojave? Is that in the plan?
No comments.
Here's another one to shoot. Huh?
That's
comments,
a top confidential.
No comments. It
looks like it's a top confidential.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I would love to tell you this, but you know, I mean, I cannot take all the
let me ask it in another way. Would you be happy if you released a ceramic one with another color?
Trust me, it's gonna be really cool. Look out in the future. You'll love that.
Okay. Good.
You're gonna love that, definitely.
So the only available color so far is the desert one, right?
Yes, and black, which we have on the standard one.
And the black one. Okay.
Yes. Unfortunately, I do not have a ceramic in black here, but I could show you. So now just a small movie to show you a little bit about the Perpetual Calendar Mojave. Very good. Now, I would like to tell you a little story about IWC, and that is that we have a department called IWC Experimental, or short XPL. And this department will take care of the main questions that the watchmakers or the watch industry is asking, okay? And we want to get the answers. And one of these questions is the shock absorbing. So what are the forces that a movement will experience when you hit the watch with a very hard surface? Now, to put that in an example, imagine you are running down the aisle and your watch hits the wall. What forces are the movement experiencing or the components in the movement experiences at that moment? To put it maybe in a more practical example, a pilot flying a maneuver, when he turns and the watch by mistake hits the wall of the cabin, what forces will that movement experience? And after 8 years, I am very proud to present to you the first watch coming out of this department that is answering the question of the shock. And it's the Big Pilot Shock Absorber XPL. Short movie.
Now that's something.
Now, this watch, I was talking to you about this shocking absorbance, these examples I gave you. So if you imagine yourself walking down the aisle, or the pilot that will hit the wall of the cabin, you are experiencing about 300 for the guy walking to 1,000 Gs, okay, on the movement. So 1,000 Gs. Now you can imagine also the pilot will fade out or will pass out at 9 Gs. Okay, so the body will not survive more than 9 Gs, or well, survive is difficult, but he will pass out after 9 Gs. And these are experienced pilots hitting the watch 1,000 Gs. Now this watch that you just saw will cope with more than 30,000 Gs. That is 30 times higher than what you hit when you hit your watch against the wall with a very hard surface, okay? Now, this has been tested at a laboratory called the Laboratory of Cavendish from the Cambridge University. This is the same laboratory that back then in the age, tested the neutron and proved the neutron and the existence of the electron. It has brought more than 30 Nobel Prize winners, and they tested with us this mechanism, okay? So it has been tested, this mechanism. And I would like to show you the watch right now and tell you how this system works, because it's a really an impressive system. Now here you see the watch. Okay, what you see here is a ceratanium case. Do you know about ceratanium? It's an alloy that IWC created. It's joining the best of titanium and ceramic. Titanium being light, robust, easy to mill, and ceramic being robust in the sense of scratches. So it joins the best of both worlds. And this ceratanium case in 44 millimeters, and if you allow me just take very quickly this, I'll come to this part a little bit later. What you see also here is the movement, and the movement has the same size of the dial, okay? And here you can see perfectly well how the movement is somehow swimming in the case, is suspended in the case. And the proof is you can see my hand passing behind, okay? So this means that the movement is now suspended in the case and only being held down by this spring system. If we could keep on the zoom, that would be great, exactly. So here you can see the spring system, which is a patented system by IWC. And this is made of a amorph metal called bulk metal glass. And this is very special because it has a very high spring constant. Okay, which means that when you hit it or when something comes along, it will absorb a lot of the energy. So now, when you see that the movement is suspended and only being held out by these 8 legs, so you have here 1 leg here touching the container of the movement, and here are 2. So in every point here are 2, 9 are 2, 6 are 2, 3 are 2 of these legs. Okay. When the watch hits or gets a hit from the side, the watch, as you saw in the movie, will be able to move freely inside because it's suspended in the watch. Now, of course, the only connection to the case will be the crown. So if the movement moves, you will probably break the crown, right? So this is why we generated or created a new system that will decouple the axis from the movement when the crown is, like in this example, introduced into the case. So when I pull out the crown, like so, and I pull it off, now you see it's the position 0. I can wind up I cannot wind up the watch, so it will have a second stop. But now the watch is still decoupled, okay? So you see I cannot set the time, nothing. But when I pull the crown, you can see here a small piece moves just at 3 o'clock. Let me put it back again so you can see it probably. You see how something moves there? When I move this, the axe will engage to the movement, allowing me to change the time. So when I push it back, it will move again. You see it's not, it's a prototype, so there you go. You see how it moved? Now the axe is decoupled, okay? And now I can move the crown and nothing will happen. So this means that when the crown is engaged like so, the movement is really moving freely in the case, and there's no axis that will break if you have the shock to the side. And the third component of the system is in the back. What you see here is our manufactured movement caliber 32,000 with a aluminum plating. So the main bridge is made of aluminum. And this is clear that when you reduce the weight of the movement, the mass will be also reduced, and the impulse that gets translated is reduced. Okay, so reducing the mass of the movement, decoupling the axis or the crown from the movement and having it freely floating in the case allows us to get a shock resistance of more than 30,000 Gs, which is 30,000 times more than what you could ever possibly do by hitting on the table or when the pilot hits the wall against the cabin. There is going to be a component to it. It's a detachable bumper or silencer. Now, this is a 3D printed version of it, but the geometry is not the same. So the final is not final. But the moment I can put this like so. And the idea of this bumper is to, because the watch is also based in the Top Gun world, and to have a stealthy look, you don't want to, when you put the watch down, that it makes a metallic sound. Okay, so it's gonna be a rubber surface that will silence the sound when you put it in any direction. Of course, the crown is not completely protected. As you can see here, the crown is bigger than the bumper, but when you put it from the side, the idea is to have the silence and avoid this metallic sound that you get when you put the watch on the table. And the strap is going to be a rubber strap with a textile printing. What do you think?
I have two questions.
Very
here.
impressive.
Yes, please go ahead.
Question number one, the case material itself, the ceratonium, does it have anything to do with the spring shock absorbance, or maybe we can have the same watch in steel in the future?
No, the ceratonium is not. It doesn't have to do with the spring system. It does not add to this 30,000 Gs in any sense. The idea here was to get this stealthy look, and we had this material which is black, and it's very nice with the dial and everything. So it's a very good combination. So it's more from aesthetical point of view, but also it's about reducing the weights a little bit of the watch. Okay, so the less weight you have, because titanium is as light as ceratonium, or ceratonium as titanium. So this will be also important in that sense. Maybe you can have it in steel. That's true. Yes, it's possible, because the main system is actually the spring.
And the second question, which I think is the elephant in the room, because we've seen the prices of all the new releases, but except this one. So what's the range or the area of the price for this watch will be? What do you
exactly think? The price will be 80,000 Swiss francs, and it's going to be a limited edition of 30 pieces.
So it's also a limited edition. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, 30 pieces limited, and the price 80,000 Swiss francs. I don't know the price in USD, but I mean, this I think maybe Natalie can get you that soon enough when we have the prices validated in the different currencies.
I can actually send it over to you by tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
You see, very fast.
Okay. Another question, please. So you mentioned that this can take up to 100 multiples of what a pilot needs actually in a cockpit. So that's very impressive, but the question is, what's the use case for that? I mean, my question is, if a pilot, why would a pilot need 100 times the natural shock resistance needed when he's in a jet fighter? I mean,
they're just showing you they can make cool technology. They're just showing you the technology.
That's very impressive.
Because you cannot relate this watch to pilots. It defeats the purpose of the watch itself. It has a small number, small dial, small numeral. Unlike the big pilot, which in all variants, big pilot watches have big dials, big numerals, big numbers. So this watch is just another cool watch to add to your collection. You don't need the
is a pilot.
But thank you. That is actually the right answer. This is about answering the question of what happens in a movement when the watch gets hit. And we realize that the forces that when you hit a watch, you know, when you let it fall, or when it let it fall, nobody will let fall the watch, but when it falls down, I mean, if you think that every IWC is set up to 5,000 Gs, okay? And that is a similar force that when you let your watch fall from the table to the ground with a very soft surface like wood or into a carpet. So you can imagine that, you know, the weight is very small, but falling it from the table is already generating 2,000 to 3,000 Gs. Okay, and we test to 5,000 Gs. So every watch of IWC will hold up to 5,000 Gs, which is already a lot more than a pilot will ever use or that you will ever use. But the forces are extrapolated so hard to the movement. So the idea is to show that we can make a system that is robust, that can hold up these really strong acceleration forces that every watch will experience when falling down to something. And in fact, in the 60s, we already had an IWC watch that had a bumper system made of rubber. The problem is rubber with time, you know, it gets somehow, it gets porous and it falls out, and you don't want to have rubber particles in your movement. So that's why, actually, it's nothing new. It's a question that we answered already with a bumper in rubber inside the movement. And now we're answering it with a very different technology, not just in the sense of the calculation of this of the bumper, because you know calculating the right geometry takes ages, and back then we didn't use artificial intelligence to iterate many times. We just, you know, it was an engineered trial and error, testing new forms, getting the form correct, and then testing it on the laboratory and measuring how much this spring was moving inside the watch. You know, I mean, it took us 8 years to get that form correct and introduced into the movement and the system working all together. So it is more about what you can achieve when you set your mind to it. And here is a record. I mean, there are other brands that are telling 10,000 Gs and what have you. As I said, every watch of IWC is up to 5,000 Gs. So that's already more than, I would say, 80 or 90% of the competition. And now we can prove that we have a system that can be easily adapted to any other watch, so to make it very robust. So if this is like an experimental watch, it's a concept watch that is being sellable, that you can buy. And this technology and what we learn from that, we can maybe introduce in future watches, so that not just every watch holds up to 5,000 G, but maybe 10,000 G. Okay? So it's like Formula One. It's a basic development or pre-development that you need to get forward in your development and to bring the watches to a next level. And this is the first watch coming out of that department.
Great stuff. Great stuff.
Very good. Now we still have 10 minutes. So if you have any questions, do not hesitate. Otherwise, if you want, if there's something of the Portuguese you want me to put on the tray, I will do so. I have the whole collection of the Portuguese, including some very high-end pieces.
We'd like to see that, yes, please.
So first come, first serve.
We'd like to see the Portuguese. That would be great.
Yes, exactly. Which one?
Surprise us.
So maybe with some novelties that we introduced last year. On the one hand, maybe on the blue collar strap, which you probably already know. Let me just get this off from the cushion. So you probably know also this watch here, reference 3583. It's a 40mm Portuguese, which we introduced. It has our new movement 82,000 caliber, and there's something very special about this movement. Don't mind the etiquette. This is our internal numbering system for the inventory of our prototypes. Okay, it's really it's really medieval in the sense that it's just a sticker with written by hand. It should read 1111. So here you see again the same movement that we have on the big pilot 3293. There we go.
Good.
Exactly. So you can see here the ceramic components and of course the Peloton winding system. It has a power reserve of 60 hours. And what's very interesting about this is that, and maybe you know that because I don't know if some of you got this watch already, is that when you pull out the crown, you need to wind the watch counterclockwise. All the other watches go this way.
Yeah.
You know, so you can change the time in both directions, but winding it is just counterclockwise.
Okay.
Okay. So this is also a very interesting thing because a lot of people, you know, we got some people calling us and telling us the watch is broken because I wind it up and it never winds up, and there's no power reserve, so I don't know when it's pulled off and everything. But at the end, I told them, you know, remember caliber 82,000, it goes the other way around. And when they got that, they understood very quickly. So this is
is only for this caliber?
At the
moment, winding
yes.
counterclockwise?
Yes, exactly. Okay. And maybe to tell you a small story about this, you know why we did that? It's because we wanted to make the movement more robust, okay? And why? Because every single watch in the market outside that has the standard winding system will probably have, and this is, I'm talking about 99% of that reason, will probably have a additional axes, additional stones, and additional gear to turn the direction. So this is a direct gear from the winding system to the crown. Normally you will have a gear that will translate that to the other direction. And we said less gears, less stones, more robust. That's why we tried this out. Of course, telling the story is not easy because nobody understands. I mean, only people like probably you guys that love watches and myself understand how beautiful the idea of leaving one gear out is in that movement. So that's why we put that in. And yeah, it's a special thing. So it's good. So if somebody steals your watch from your family or something like that, probably they will not run because they will not know that. Okay.
Cool.
Now there's another watch that the bigger brother of this watch, maybe put it in red gold here. It also is based on the caliber 82,000. So when I show it from the back, you will see again the numbering, but you can immediately recognize the movement because of the watches. This is a perpetual calendar, okay? The times are not set because they were prototypes. They were still laying in the ground, so please pardon for that. But here the challenge was moving the small single moon to 6 o'clock and have this new smiley face to that. And again, here, this is a watch that will turn on the other side. Is a big brother, I would say that on this watch. It's also an amazing watch, I think. It's in 42 millimeters diameter, so it's also very wearable. If you compare it to the big brother of that one, which is the Perpetual Calendar in 44 millimeters with the moon phase also at 12 o'clock. Now, some of you asked about Big Pilot 43 and you were interested and thinking about new complications and all that stuff. Well, do you see this one? It's 82, right? So it will probably go to the same case of the Big Pilot 43 millimeters. So it's just a question of time that we develop this watch on this complication. So this is very interesting, these two novelties. And probably you also know that we introduced the Yacht Club. And we have some very interesting variation of this Yacht Club. We have the stainless steel with the bracelet, with the new millimeters now. I think it's 44 millimeters in diameter. And what's interesting that for the first time in very, very long time, we have introduced a bicolor watch, you know, with steel and red gold. I don't know if you can appreciate it here. The light is not so amazing. But you know what's also cool about this bracelet? As I told you before, you will have the pushers here to extend it or reduce it very fast. And of course, the quick the fine adjustment system going in and out here, pushing it, going out, pushing it in. This is standard for all steel bracelets. I believe that, and of course I have to say it like that, but it's not only because I work for IWC, but in my opinion, the bracelets of IWC are the best in the market. I mean, there are other brands that have used other materials. Ours are massive. They are you feel the value immediately, and you have this quick exchange system. I don't think there's many companies having this quick exchange system, and also not the fine adjustment system about, you know, that you can put it from the top without taking the watch away. You know, other companies, you need to open the clasp somehow and exchange here, you know, move some levers and extend
glide locks and stuff like that.
Exactly. When you do that, the watch is already, you know, you already fall down, and you don't need to adapt that quickly. And this is really a very cool system, and it's proprietary of IWC and Richemont. So actually, only we can have this. If you have a watch company using this system that is not belonging to Richemont, please call us, because they are infringing our patent. Or maybe you bought it in China for $30. But that's a different story. So yeah, we have these two yacht clubs, and I think also a very cool watch we introduced then last year was the Moon and Tide yacht club. This is also a very cool complication, and to be honest, we had like less than 1 year to develop this complication. Okay. The nice thing about the tides is that, you know, they are systemic, and everything that has a system or a movement or something that moves in systems is really cool for complications, because you can build that up mechanically. You know, the stars, they move in the same, always, you know, it's periodic. The moon, it's always 29.5 days that you turn, you have to turn it. So you can put that in a gear, and theoretically, I mean, I think this moon is, how much is this? Up to 157 days. Is it accurate to the day? 1 day off in 157 years. Now, theoretically, because the movement of the moon is so constant and so systematic, you could do a complication that brings up to 1 million years. So 1 day off in 1 million years. It's just a question of having the right gears, you know? So this complication is really, really good, really cool, because you can have that. And of course, the tide and the low tide and the high tide, it's after 12 hours and 13 minutes that every low tide and high tide change. So it's very systematic. And that's how we just had to translate the movement of the hand wound, make some gears so that they will turn once every, or have a turn from 12 to 6 in 12.13, or I think it's 12.26 minutes. So every 12 and a half hours, you every 25 hours it will turn once the disc. So okay, so because we have here 4 times the low tide, high tide. So after 25 hours, you have a full turn of the disc, of the internal disc, and this is very systematic, and you can bring that up. And of course, it's coupled to the moon. So then, of course, you just need to couple it to the moon to have the right tide on that. Okay.
This is smart. Are you guys the only one who makes a complication related to the tide?
No, definitely not. There were, I think Ulis Nada already introduced something like that before, maybe more complicated than ours. And there's, I think, just recently, last year, someone brought this also, this moon and tide complication. Yeah.
Because this is not an area of interest for me, so this is the first time for me I see such a thing. So.
Oh wow, very good. So I'm very happy that I'm showing you something new. It will have an open case back. It has our caliber 82,000 again here, because it's an automatic watch. Okay, so you can see here the ceramic components. 82,000, huh? Maybe to this watch here, you see also the small second at 6 o'clock. This puts a 69,000 caliber into that. And when you look at the back, also case back open, you will see here also the column wheel of the movement, right? No, sorry, this is caliber 89,000, because there's only 2, you know. You have at 12 o'clock the hour counter of the chronograph, and at 6 o'clock the small second of the watch, and the stop counter which is now at 12 o'clock. This is caliber 89,000, huh? Sorry for that mistake. Oh, sorry. So this watch is still available. I don't know, Natalie, if you have something in the boutique for I don't know, was it you? I think it was Mr. Nema who addressed the point that he has never seen this watch. So if you have it in the boutique, please feel free to contact Natalie. I guess she can arrange for you to have a look at this watch in lifetime.
I'll check for the availability in Jordan, and I'll let you know in a minute.
Amazing.
Perfect.
Now, if we look at a little bit at the higher complications, we're introducing those two really cool complications next year. So one is the, it's difficult to know which one is the best or which one you are more interested in. This is a Chronograph Tourbillon, okay? This will come in platinum with the white dial, and will also come in execution in platinum with the blue dial. I think I'm going to take the white dial to explain it to you a little bit, because it's better on the camera than the blue one. So this is a tourbillon that has a very interesting technology inside of it. I mean, you have to look at it maybe from very close to really realize what's inside. And it's a technology that we call diamond shell technology. So the anchor wheel is made of a silicon core, which is coated with diamonds, okay? So this coating has, or this system has two very interesting properties. I think the watch is blocked, that's why it's not turning. But it has two very interesting properties. The one is that is very, of course, the wear of diamond is the hardest material on earth. So the wear and tear of these components is practically zero, same as ceramic. It will not wear off. And the second property is that it will reduce the weight. And this is necessary because you can imagine, you know, I don't know if you know this, but in the watch industry, the chronograph is one of the toughest complications you can ever have. In the watch industry or the watchmaking is all about energy preservation, okay? So a consumer or a complication is something you don't want to have because it will take the power of your watch. Now, a perpetual calendar will take energy out of the watch only once a day when it turns from one day to the next, right? But a chronograph, the minute you start, you're moving, you know, gears and levers to start the chronograph, and this will take energy of the watch. And then you have two systems running parallel: the watch that is still giving you the time, and the chronograph, which is counting the time that you want to start and stop. So you have two consumers in your movements, okay? And of course, when you stop it, you need again energy to stop it and reset it. You need even more energy to bring everything to the standard position. So a chronograph is, in terms of energy preservation, one of the most challenging complications you can ever imagine in the watch industry. Now, if you put that to a tourbillon, it is also a consumer, because the weight of the tourbillon needs to be moved with the same power. So weight in a tourbillon is one of the key elements. And this is why we use this diamond shell technology, because it will reduce the weight of the tourbillon, allowing us to preserve the power reserve of 68 hours that this caliber 89,000 will have. So this is one of the very cool things that this watch has. Now, I'm not sure if this watch has this complication. Does it have a stop tourbillon? Andre, do you know that?
I'm not really sure.
I'm not sure either, but you know, we have a patented system of a stop tourbillon. And these are two hands coming out that when you pull out the crown, they come out and they will stop the tourbillon. And this is a patent from IWC. I need to check if this watch has the stop tourbillon. I think the hand one that we introduced on the Portofino line will have the stop tourbillon. So this is thing. I don't know. Does it have it? We're checking right now. I'll get you the information. So yeah, that's also really cool on this watch. And of course, it will have a retrograde date, which is also a very interesting complication, because you need to preserve the energy so that when you go from 31, it has to jump back to 1 all the way down. If you have just a circular date, of course, it just turns once every day, you know? So it turns once. So having this is also another consumer that needs to be preserved. So now you have like, this watch has the whole consumption you can imagine, or the worst consumption you can imagine. This is like a big truck, you know, it's pulling like, I don't know, 20,000 pounds of kerosene every second or something like that, because you have a chronograph that is consuming a lot of energy when you start and stop it. It has a tourbillon, which from the weight will consume it. And the date, of course, from the 31st that goes down will consume a lot of energy. So it's an amazing watch, and it will have an open case watch with a red gold rotor in it. And it's our caliber 89,000, okay? It has also a column wheel. And something which is also very cool, it has a flyback function, which means that I can press the reset button anytime I want. The second counter and the minute and the hour counter will go back to 0, and it will start running again without having to stop it, reset it, and run. So flyback will set back always the time back. Now you can imagine the complication of a flyback. I mean, we calculated the speed of the second going back from the flyback to 12 o'clock. It is up to 300 kilometers an hour, and it stops at 12 o'clock. Can you imagine jumping on your Porsche, driving 300 kilometers an hour and stop within a second? What will happen with that Porsche? What will happen with you? But this doesn't happen with these watches, okay? So this is also an amazing complication, and we did some high-speed photos of the second when it comes back to 0. And to be honest, it goes almost back to second, I don't know, 8 or 9. So it will go back till second 9, and then it turns back to 12 before it's so fast you will not realize it. But knowing that a flyback has this, I mean, can you imagine the forces that need to be held down when you're using this watch? It's an amazing complication. And maybe the last watch, which is also very cool, and for me one of my favorites, because it joins also a lot of iconic things like the design of the Portuguese, the cool Clasp Perpetual Calendar, but also a flying tourbillon at 12 o'clock. I also have this in blue, also in a blue design or look, if you let me put it like this. Again, I will stay on the white one to explain it on the picture now. This is a flying tourbillon, which means that when you see the tourbillon, it's like black, it's like floating, okay? So you do not see what is carrying the tourbillon there. Unfortunately, we have not adapted this tourbillon to the new technology of diamond shell. This is our typical, our very renowned Mista tourbillon, Portuguese Mista. You probably don't know this watch already. You've seen it somewhere before. Maybe you even own one. It's the same tourbillon, but now the challenge here was to move the moon phase down to 6 o'clock to give space to the integrated tourbillon in the caliber 51,000. It will also have an open case back. And here in the back, maybe you can see, let me see if I get the right light. You can see the dark discs moving around. That is actually the one that covers the tourbillon so that you don't see through with a black disc, so that you get the impression that it's flying. Okay. So this is a little bit the collection on the Portuguese. These are all the novelties we introduced last year. Of course, I have the Portuguese 3716. You know that. Maybe to show you some crazy stuff. I don't know if you've seen this. Might be interesting for you. I don't know. We introduced for the first time also a burgundy color on the dial. It's a very special color. It also has a very special decoration. You can see it goes from very dark red blood color to a ruby red. It's an amazing part, and it will have an open case back like 37, displaying our caliber 69,000. Okay. Okay. So I just got the information. It will not have a tourbillon stop. Okay. So there's no patent in here. This is probably we were too late with the patent before we can introduce that to this movement. But it will not have. All the other tourbillons will have it. Yeah. other questions you would have. I think our time is unfortunately over, so a few minutes for the last questions probably. You want to see anything special?
Maybe I have a question. If you give me a second, because we have written a few questions that we might want to ask, and I'll leave the floor for my colleagues as well. But we noticed that, and probably this is just something that has to do with your branding and the way you're displaying your name on the dial. So you used to have International Watch Company, and now it has become IWC. So is there any specific reason? It's just something that we were wondering why this happened. Is it to make the dial less cluttered, or is there any other reason maybe that you had in mind?
To be honest, I do not know the exact story when it changed and why it changed. But what I can tell you is that what I've heard in our rows is that International Watch Co. is a very long name, and to say what watch you have is an International Watch Company watch. It's of course very long. If you compare to others like, I don't know, HYT or Moser or Rolex, there are so
JLC, same thing. Yeah.
Exactly. So it was, I think it was, what I've heard is, and I cannot confirm this, of course, is that it was to get it more crispy, more together, also to get that down to that. But we also introduced IWC was, if you look at the watches of 1955, the engineer, for example, it had an IWC already abbreviated. So it's nothing new. It's just like, concentrate on making it more marketing, more oriented, more easy for the people to.
Yes, makes sense. Makes sense. I'll leave the floor for others to ask if they have any questions. In the meantime, I just want to have one last question for you personally. What do you have on your wrist right now?
Well, right now I do not have nothing because I used my big Palette 5010 for the presentation.
Okay.
But
so is this what you usually wear, or?
Well, I do own about 12 different IWCs. So I like to wear them according to my activities. So when I go skiing, I like to use, the smaller ones because you have the gloves and everything for skiing is more dynamic. Of course, with the steel bracelet, because you're sweating, you're more sporty there. I think if my wife allows, I mean, I have to ask my wife, there's always one person who is always the boss. It's always the wife. At least in Switzerland, it's like that. I don't know if in Jordan it's the same, but if she allows, maybe
it's the same everywhere.
It's the same everywhere, right? You see,
everywhere.
You go, Natalie goes like, yes, good boys. Now you know. But yeah, well, so I'm speaking the truth. That's good. I think this one, the Big Palette 43, is an amazing watch. It's really comfortable. The crown is not there on your hand. You will not feel it. It's really ergonomic, and the steel bracelet is also a dream. I think it's a very good value proposition, and for sports, for whatever, it works better. Of course, when I go diving or swimming in the Rhine, I use normally an aqua timer. I have old and new aqua timer, so yeah, use your variation.
Okay. I think someone has a question. Guys, anyone has a question? I think someone wanted to ask, and I was already asking. So
yeah, I had a question, but I lost connection. I have a question about the bracelets, as I wasn't able to attend the meeting from the beginning.
Okay.
So the extension thing and the buttons, it applies to all the new bracelets, right, of IWC?
No, it applies only to the big
at least to the Big Pilot 43, right?
Exactly.
Because I missed that part. I missed when you talked about the 43s.
No problem. If we walk very quickly to exactly, you see here the watch maybe on the back. You see the one strap on the side, the button here, and you see here from the rubber, it's a different button. It's more elaborated, and this is based on the construction. Okay. Now, if you look at the strap of the leather, you will have an upper leather. Then you have inside some material, and you have a lower or inlay leather. And then you have the stitching and you have the rivets. And you know, putting this into leather, it's a lot more complicated than in rubber, because here I just put the button and pour the rubber and pressurize it, and then you have it. So it's only one material throughout, and the rubber will vulcanize to the steel, so it will stick to it. And here you need to have, of course, more space for glue and for the materials. That's why we have two different pushers here, okay? But and the system, it's very easy. So when you look at it from the side, maybe you can see that inside, and if we zoom a little bit, maybe, there we go. You see in the inside, there's like a small lever. There we go. You see the lever in the inside?
Yes.
Exactly. When I push here the button, the lever will go back. And this is the one that is going to relieve the pin. Okay, so you can see a little bit how it moves. So the concept is exactly the same now. For the rubber, it's just a little bit different construction because you have more space. So we were a little bit more luxurious in the design of the rubber button.
Can you give us maybe a short 30-second brief about the steel bracelets?
Yes, and maybe just very quickly, this pin here, it's a standard pin, okay? So it's nothing special. You know, probably your aqua timer, it has a fixed pin that you cannot take off. So if you want to take it off, you have to cut it somehow. And this pin is a standard pin with a 1.5 millimeter diameter, and this will go perfectly well with this one, with the leather one, and with the steel bracelet. And maybe if I take it off also, the steel bracelet here, there we go. And then on this side, you can see, as easily I just take it off, you will have this lever here, which moves down and will lock the case, okay? So this I can put very quickly. And this one here, just like so. It's the same pin. So you saw me change it from leather now to rubber and now to stainless steel, and there you go. Okay, it's a very easy system, and the bracelet is reduced, so it's very ergonomic. It will go from 21 millimeters to 18. It will have this quick exchange system that you can, so every watch will come with a small tool to exchange this, so you can enlarge and reduce the bracelet. And of course, you will have the fine adjustment system that when you push the button, you will take it out by 5 millimeters and push it down very easily by just putting it back. Like so. Is that sufficient for you, or is that explaining it in very short?
That's just perfect. Thank you.
There we go. As I said, we're going to have 5 colors on the rubber, 3 colors on the leather, plus the steel. So this makes 9 different bracelets for you to wear and to exchange.
Well, if you excuse me, I would like to thank you first of all in the name of Jordan Watch Club. I hope you can hear me well.
Yes, very good. Thank you.
I can't open my camera due to the poor connection I have, but would like to thank you in the name of all JWC collectors and members. And I'm pretty sure that we will visit our IWC shop very soon in order to see this bracelet. We were talking about it the other day, and it was a huge debate that everyone likes it. And I think the technology that you have achieved there, it's a bit astonishing for every party here.
Yeah.
So I like to thank you personally, and for Natalie for such an honor to meet you guys. And we hope once we are in Dubai, any of our members will meet Natalie in person and the regional office as well.
Absolutely.
That would be great.
It would be our pleasure.
Thank you very much for your time, guys.
Thank you, Zaid, for making this happen. Thank you. And thanks for everyone.
Thank you, Walter.
Very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Walter. Thank you, Natalie.
I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure for me. I wish you all a very good evening and hope you stay safe. Have a great day from Schaffhausen.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Good night.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.